Hey there, and welcome back to our Spring Challenge podcast. I am really glad that you're here for week 2. Last week, we started by noticing that inner voice, the one that can be so critical and loud at times. And we began to understand where it comes from and how to start shifting it with curiosity and grace. This week, we're going to build on that foundation by exploring how to turn the very first week of your weight loss journey, into the solid foundation for everything that follows. Because let's be honest with each other for a moment, we have all had more week ones than we'd like to admit. That very first week is often full of fire, determination, excitement, maybe even that little dopamine rush when you see a drop on the scale. It feels like you're on top of the world. You're so motivated and hopeful and ready to tackle whatever comes your way. But then suddenly comes week 2, and that fire can start to flicker. Doubt creeps in, the task ahead starts feeling so overwhelming, and you might start to wonder if you really have what it takes to keep going. And this pattern is so common that it almost feels like a rite of passage. But what if we could change the story? What if instead of week 2 being the week where motivation fades and doubt takes over, it became the week where you build the foundation for sustainable change? And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. So how do we take that first week, the week of energy, hope, maybe some early wins, and turn it into something that is sustainable? How do we use what we've learned about ourselves in week 1 to build habits that last? What challenges did that week expose? And why does reaching out for support sometimes feel so hard, even when we know it could really help us? First, let's pause and just reflect on week 1 and what it really showed you. Because it's not just about what you did or didn't do, it's about what your experience revealed about your mindset, your triggers, your patterns. Maybe you noticed moments when motivation was high and you felt unstoppable. And maybe you also noticed moments when old doubt started whispering in your ear, or when a certain situation triggered stress or overwhelm. Now, those aren't failures, they're clues. And we're all about curiosity and reading clues over here. They are signals from your mind and body about what's working and what isn't, and about where you might need extra care or a slightly different approach. Think about this. Every journey worth taking has moments of challenge. It's not a straight line. And the fact that week 2 can feel tough doesn't mean that you're failing. It means that you're human. It means that you're encountering the real world beneath the surface. And that's where the real growth happens. And here's an important distinction I want you to hold on to. There's a big difference between reacting to your emotions and reflecting on them. Reacting is often automatic. It's that knee-jerk feeling of frustration or defeat or overwhelm that can lead to us giving up or self-sabotage. Reflecting, on the other hand, is about stepping back and asking yourself questions with kindness and curiosity and grace. It's about understanding what's really going on beneath the surface instead of letting your emotions run the show. And that's exactly what I want you to practice this week. I want you to catch yourself when you're reacting, whether it's frustration or doubt or overwhelm, and give yourself a moment to pause. That pause is already a win, because it means that you're becoming aware of your patterns. Awareness is the first step towards change. And once you catch that reaction, I want you to reflect with some simple but quite powerful questions. What was happening when you had that thought? Try and pinpoint the situation or the trigger. Was it a specific event, a feeling, or a thought that sparked that reaction? It could be not having the weight loss you expected to have on the scale, or a comment by a friend, or an offer of a meal out. Just notice what that trigger was. And then, is there anything that situation triggered? A memory or a past criticism or an area of self-doubt? Sometimes our current feelings are amplified by old wounds or stories that we've carried for years. And noticing when perhaps present day can feel a lot worse or a lot more overwhelming because of a past memory is really important. And does that trigger exaggerate how you feel? Is the intensity of your reaction in this moment proportionate to what's really happening? Or is it being exaggerated? And what has that thought protected you from in the past? Often negative thoughts serve as a kind of defense. It's keeping us safe from perceived risks or failures. We all know, we've all done it, where we'll try and get ahead of that criticism to almost protect ourselves emotionally, but it never does. And what has that thought held me back from? What opportunities or progress might I have missed out on because I believe that thought? And what stops you from reaching out for support in that moment? And regardless of the answer, this is a moment to reach out. Okay, if you're having this moment, this is the moment that you need to reach out, because support is a strength, not a weakness. I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, and that's because it's true. Now, those questions aren't about judging yourself or trying to fix everything at once, but they're about creating space to understand your experience and to see where you might need to adjust your approach, not as a punishment, but as a form of self-care. It's about becoming your own coach, the way you would support a close friend or a family member if they were going through something similar. Now, let's talk about why reaching out for support can feel so challenging. And it's common to hesitate because reaching out means having to put yourself in a vulnerable position. It means admitting that you don't have all the answers, and that can feel really scary. Sometimes it feels like asking for help is admitting failure or weakness. But remember, support is a sign of strength, and it's a commitment to yourself. It's a way of saying, I'm worth the effort. I'm worth that kindness. I'm worth that support. I'm worth that discomfort. Support can come in many forms. It can come from talking to a friend, having a community, reaching out to me as your coach, or even just journaling your thoughts. Whatever form it takes, it's about connection and kindness, both to yourself and from others. So as you move through week 2, I want you to be gentle with yourself. Use what you've learned in week 1 as a foundation, not a measuring stick. Notice your reactions, pause and reflect. And when you feel stuck or unsure, reach out. You're not alone in this journey, even if sometimes it feels that way. Isolating ourselves and barricading ourselves in shame is what keeps us stuck there. But reaching out for support and having those conversations is what can be the key to unlocking everything. Let me just share a quick example from a client that I worked with recently. So she told me about how on week 2, it always felt like a wall that she just couldn't get past. She'd start so strong, but then doubts and overwhelm would hit and she'd feel like she was giving up. And together we worked on catching those reactions and reflecting on them with the questions that we just shared. She started to see that many of her doubts were echoes of old criticisms. She may have heard them in the past growing up or more recently, but naming those helped her separate the past from the present. And she also committed to reaching out for support when she felt stuck, even if it was just sending a quick message or journaling something. And over time, week 2 stopped feeling like a wall and started feeling like the stepping stone we want it to be. This shift didn't erase all of her challenges overnight, but it changed the way she showed up for herself. Days were still hard, but when they were full of more kindness and curiosity and that quiet confidence that she could keep going, it changed everything. So your challenge for the week is whenever you catch yourself reacting, whether it's through frustration or doubt or overwhelm, I want you to pause and reflect. Use the questions above, or even just ask yourself why. It is such a powerful question in those moments. And notice what comes up with no judgment. Remember, we want to separate all of that judgment from where our reflection is, because that space is where we will grow. Remember those thoughts? We named them last week. Keep that space whilst you move forward. And as you step into this week, I want you to hold on to this. You are already winning by being aware and willing to reflect. That awareness is the foundation of lasting change. And it's the difference between spinning your wheels and moving forward with intention. Thank you so much for showing up this week for yourself. I am cheering you on every step of the way, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you. Until next time, take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, and remember, you are more than enough exactly as you are. And I am here for you every step of the way.